الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على إمام المرسلين سيدنا وحبيبنا محمد الأمين صلى الله تبارك وتعالى عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين وبعد فإني أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن سيدنا وحبيبنا وقرة أعيننا محمدا عبد الله ورسوله اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد الفاتح لما أغلق والخاتم لما سبق ناصر الحق بالحق والهادي إلى صراطك المستقيم وعلى آله حق قدره ومقداره العظيم صلاة تعرفنا بها إياه. Alhamdulillah, in the last three Jummahs khutbah, we've been speaking, discussing, pondering upon this beautiful surah, Surah Al-Kahf, and the very reason why Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam recommends the Ummah to recite this surah on Fridays. And the excellencies that the Prophet ﷺ mentions regarding this surah. We spoke about the first fitna that the surah spoke about, that is the fitna of persecution because of one's iman. One can be persecuted because they have faith in Allah, because they are different from the people with whom they live. But the biggest fitna is the fitna of deen. That's why Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala begins with the fitna of deen, fitna of Ashab al-Kahf. And the fitna of al-mal, of wealth. And we could see that in Qisat Sahibay Jannatain, one who saw that everything he had was from Allah and everything was for Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, while the other saw that it was from his own ability or power. And we saw how Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala tried the one who saw that everything was for him. And that is only the punishment of this dunya. And Allah knows what's going to happen in the akhirah if the person does not repent. we also saw that even though Allah did not mention any punishment or anything regarding the other person, He did not also say that the person who said this is from Allah, I gave him wealth and this and this. That shows us that being righteous doesn't have to do, doesn't have anything to do with richness or with being rich. You can be righteous and poor. Actually, the poor people of this ummah are the first to enter Jannah. So poverty can be a sign of righteousness if one just understands. And Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala also mentions the fitna of al-ilm in the person of Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam. Because Sayyidina Musa gave a khutbah and the wa'd was so baligh that one of them followed him and asked, is there anyone who knows more than you do? And Sayyidina Musa said, no. That was not kibr from him, but hasanatul abrar, sayyatul muqarrabin. That there's nothing wrong in what he said, because he didn't know anyone who knows better. But as a Nabi, he should have taken everything back to Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. That's why he was blamed for that. And Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala showed us also that he's not arrogant, because once he told him that there is another person who has some of the knowledges that you don't have, he left everything and went to meet him. And going to meet him also, he has gone through so many difficulties to meet this person. Why? Because he wants to seek knowledge. So seeking knowledge requires efforts, requires mentor. You cannot just learn from the books, from YouTube, from Google, from lectures. Of course, these are very good means, but they are not the most important thing. The most important thing is to have a physical mentor. And that's what Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala is teaching in here. He asked him to go to meet with this guy. He could have just told him what this guy had, but he wanted him to go and physically meet the guy. They said whoever learns knowledge without the sheikh will be just like Hakim, Toma al-Hakim. Toma al-Hakim, before in the classical Arabic, they used to call the doctor Hakim, the wise. Toma was a person whose father was a very brilliant medical doctor, and when he died, he wanted to inherit and to continue his father's job, but he didn't learn medicine. So he started reading books of medicine until he, mashallah, gained a lot of information. I didn't say knowledge. And then he started doing the job the father was doing. One day they brought to him someone, but he didn't know what to give to this person. Then he remembers that he read in a book that there was a hadith saying that عليكم بهذه الحبة السوداء فإن فيها شفاء لكل داء إلا السام. But for some reason the book had some misspelling. There was one word, that is the key word, was not written correctly. Instead of عليكم بهذه الحبة السوداء, it is written عليكم بهذه الحية السوداء. There's one dot plus. Habba, and if you put another dot, it's going to be hayya. Instead of ba, it's a ya. And it completely changes the meaning. Instead of take this black seed, for it is a cure for every single disease, it will be now, take this, I recommend you to take this, or to utilize, or to use this black snake. For it is a cure for every single disease. When you say habba, it's a piece or a seed, or hayya is a snake. The only difference is one dot. So he was prescribing blacks and eggs. And many people died because, as a result of that, including himself. Because he thought that it was the correct thing. That's the result of learning knowledge without a tutor. That Allah Ta'ala is teaching us in here. And when we were so, that also there's a difference between seeking Allah and seeking the creatures of Allah Ta'ala. When Sayyidina Musa was going to meet Allah Ta'ala in the Miqah, he fasted for 30 days and nights. And Allah Ta'ala commanded him to increase 10 more days. So 40 days and 40 nights he was fasting. And he never felt that he was fasting. He wasn't hungry at all because he was meeting Allah Ta'ala. But here he's meeting a person, a creature. Because of that, in half a day, he felt he was hungry. So here we see the difference between going to meet Allah or going to do something in the path of Allah, even though this is a path of Allah, but there is a difference between Allah and the creature. When he was going to meet Sayyidina Al-Khidr alayhi salam, he said, Atina ghada'ana, bring us our lunch. To Yusha ibn Nun, boy. لَقَدْ لَقِينَا مِنْ سَفَرِنَا هَذَا نَصَبًا. And the ulama, they say that he only felt the ta'ab, that he was tired when he lost, when the fish left. That's the very time he started feeling that he was tired. That means now he's not in the command of Allah anymore, because he should meet Khidr alayhi salam where he misses this hut. I mean, lillahi bi khalqihi shu'un. That means whenever you are in the service of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, it's like everything, it's like nothing matters but Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. لَقَدْ لَقِينَا مِنْ سَفَرِنَا هَذَا نَصَبًا. We also learn another lesson in the companionship with between Musa and Khidr alayhi salam. Sayyidina Khidr alayhi salam, when he broke one of the pieces of the ship, he did it for a reason, and he explained it. But when he was explaining why he did what, the explanation itself teaches us a lot. Because whenever there is defect or aib, he will attribute that defect to himself. فَأَرَدْتُ أَنْ أَعِيبَهَا. When there is defect in the thing and the quality, he will attribute the defect to himself, and that which is good to Allah wa ta'ala. أما السفينة فكانت لمساكين يعملون في البحر فأردت أن أعيبها. The aib he attributed to himself. But as when he was explaining about the thing of about the boy that he killed, he said, وأما الغلام فكان أبواه مؤمنين فخشينا أن يرهقهما طغيانا وكفرا فأردنا. You see, because there is killing in it, but there's the purpose of the killing. فأردنا. It's like him and Allah willed. And يبدلهما. He didn't say أن نبدلهما, because replacing that which, giving them that which is better is the responsibility, and it is only for Allah Ta'ala. There's nothing there but good. That's why he attributed that to Allah. فَأَرَدْتُ أَن يُبَدِّلَهُمَا, or if you read أَن يُبْدِلَهُمَا, both goes back to Allah Ta'ala. فَأَرَدْنَا فَخَشِينَا أَن يُرْهِقَهُمَا طُغْيَانًا وَكُفْرًا فَأَرَدْنَا أَن يُبَدِّلَهُمَا أَن يُبْدِلَهُمَا رَبُّهُمَا خَيْرًا مِنْهُ زَكَاةً وَأَقْرَبَ رَحْمَةً. But the last thing was the thing of the jidar of the wall, fixing the wall, and the wisdom behind it, the reason why fixing it, all is good. That's why he attributed all to Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. فَأَرَادَ رَبُّكَ أَن يَبْلُغَ أَشُدَّهُمَا وَيَسْتَخْرِجَا كَنْزَهُمَا رَحْمَةً مِنْ رَبِّهِ. He didn't say فَأَرَدْتُ, he didn't say فَأَرَدْنَا. But فَأَرَادَ رَبُّكَ أَن يَبْلُغَ أَشُدَّهُمَا. That's why it is important whenever we deal with Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala to have this adab. To have the adab. مَا أَصَابَكَ مِنْ حَسَنَةٍ فَمِنَ اللَّهِ. Whatever good that comes to you is from Allah. وَمَا أَصَابَكَ مِنْ سَيِّئَةٍ فَمِنْ نَفْسِكَ. Whenever bad comes to you, attribute that to the self. وَمَا أَصَابَكُم مِّن مُّصِيبَةٍ فَبِمَا كَسَبَتْ أَيْدِيكُمْ وَيَعْفُو عَنْ كَثِيرٍ. Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala says, whatever musibah that you go through, it is the result of your own actions. And he said, وَيَعْفُو عَنْ كَثِيرٍ. He has forgiven Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Meaning, if he was punishing us for anything, we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't have been here. Alright, so when it comes to Sayyidina Dhul Qarnayn, Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, that was the second question that the Yahud of Al-Madinah said to the Kuffar of Mecca to ask if the Prophet ﷺ had an answer for these questions. Because Quraysh, they wanted to know. But the way they wanted to know itself is funny, because they sent to the Yahud the two worst enemies of Rasulullah ﷺ in Mecca. They sent An-Nadr ibn al-Harith. And An-Nadr ibn al-Harith didn't only disbelieve in the Prophet ﷺ because he was a person of wealth, and then he was well known. He was jealous, literally. He didn't just a passive jealous person or someone who just wishes bad. He traveled actually to Sham to learn from from history of the people who were here before thousands of years. He went to learn these legends and stuff for him to come back to compete. Whenever the Prophet is, he will go after him and say, "In hada illa asatirul awwalin." This is it, and this is it, and this is it, and he will tell them, this is the same exact thing that the Prophet that Muhammad is telling you. And people didn't listen to him. He started collecting the most beautiful girls in his house. And whenever he sees any young man wanting to go to Rasulullah ﷺ, he would hook them up, to try to take them to these girls and make them busy with dunya. You want wealth, you want women, you want this, you have all them. Leave Muhammad alone. So he was ready for everything to say no to the Prophet ﷺ. This is one of the two people they sent to Ahbarul Yahud to ask about Rasulullah ﷺ. And the other person was Uqba ibn Abi Mu'ayt. He was not less mean or less bad than the first, than Nadr ibn al-Harith. And one of the questions was about Dhul Qarnayn. وَيَسْأَلُونَكَ عَنْ ذِي الْقَرْنَيْنِ. They will question you about Dhul Qarnayn. And Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala tells us about Dhul Qarnayn. But why we are talking about Dhul Qarnayn is not the story of Dhul Qarnayn itself, but the wisdom behind the story. The wisdom behind the fact that the Prophet ﷺ asked us to recite this surah at least once a week. And he tells us that there are so many benefits in reciting this surah. Because if you can see the reasons or the problems of the deen of faith, the fitna of faith, and the solution to it, the fitna of wealth and the solution to it, and the fitna of power and the solution to it, and the fitna of ilm and the solution to it, then your week, your month, your year, your life is lightened. This is what the Prophet ﷺ is teaching us. And Dhul Qarnayn, Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala brings his qissa because it has to do with power. He was a very just king, and I told you that Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala shows us how insignificant this dunya is. And because of that, you can see that only two people who are Muslims master it, governed the whole entire world. And two people who are kuffar, who are non-believers, governed the whole entire world. The two Muslims were Sayyidina Sulaiman alayhi salam and Sayyidina Dhul Qarnayn. إِنَّا مَكَّنَّا لَهُ فِي الْأَرْضِ وَآتَيْنَاهُ مِنْ كُلِّ شَيْءٍ سَبَبًا فَاتَّبَعَ سَبَبًا حَتَّى إِذَا بَلَغَ